What's up, guys? With the NFL draft right around the corner, I've decided to go back and rank the last 10 Buffalo Bills drafts from worst to first. Before I begin, I want to give you, the viewer, some insight into how I ranked these drafts. If players that were drafted by the Buffalo Bills may not still be on the team but still play in the league, I took that into account. Also, if they moved up or moved down in the draft and it worked or didn't work for them, I took that into account as well. We good? All right, let's do it. Coming in at number 10, 2016. The 2016 draft was terrible for a couple reasons. Yes, Shaq Lawson, who is a decent player, fell into the Bills' laps at number 19. But in typical Rex Ryan fashion, he had to make a splash. That splash was trading up 8 spots in the second round to draft Reggie Ragland. Ragland ended up tearing his ACL in training camp and was traded the very next season. He didn't play a single snap for the Buffalo Bills. And other than Lawson and Ragland, none of the players that were drafted by the Buffalo Bills are in the NFL today. This is by far the worst draft of the past 10 years, and I do not even think it is debatable. Coming in at number 9, the 2010 draft. The 2010 draft was highlighted by the Bills drafting running back CJ Spiller 9th overall. This, of course, made perfect sense because they had local legend Fred Jackson and future Hall of Fame running back Marshawn Lynch already on the roster at the time. Don't get me wrong, Spiller had his moments, but besides his 2012 monster season, his career with the Bills, in my opinion, wasn't productive enough to justify the Bills drafting him when they had 2 capable backs already on the roster. Unlike the 2016 draft, the Bills did draft NFL caliber players in 2010. Alex Carrington and Arthur Moats were both journeyman type players in the NFL, while Marcus Easley had the longest run with the Bills as a special teams standout. Despite these small bright spots, I look at this draft and think, woof. In 2015, the Buffalo Bills were a bit handicapped due to giving up the farm for Sammy Watkins just the year prior. Their second round pick, Ron Darby, made an immediate impact as a starter. They also drafted Carlos Williams and Nick O'Leary, who were both quality players in 2015. So, how is this draft ranked so low? Well, their third round offensive guard, John Miller, was a joke. And Carlos Williams, although a standout all-star running back, only played 1 year in the NFL because he could not tame his urge to eat literally everything he saw. The only 2 players from this draft that are still in the NFL are Ron Darby, who's a cornerback too, and Nick O'Leary, who is a fringe roster guy. Coming in at number 7, the 2014 draft. This draft may have been home to the biggest reach in NFL history. The 2014 draft is a legendary wide receiver draft class, featuring stars such as Mike Evans, Odell Beckham, Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson, Jarvis Landry, the list goes on. In the deepest wide receiver draft in NFL history, the Bills decided to part ways with 2 first-round draft picks to move up to number 4 to draft Sammy Watkins. Now, don't get me wrong, Sammy Watkins is ultra talented. However, it always seemed that Sammy was one play away from his next injury. He couldn't stay healthy, and he couldn't ever elevate his game to that Pro Bowl level like so many of his fellow draft class receivers. This reckless pick, combined with no noteworthy players aside from Preston Brown, lands the 2014 draft at number 7 on this list. In 2011, the Bills had their highest draft pick on this list. They selected Marcell Dareus, who for years was a quality player for them, reaching the Pro Bowl multiple times. Their second round pick was cornerback Aaron Williams, who converted to safety and became a solid starter on defense. They also picked up Kelvin Shepard in the 3rd and Denoris Searcy in the 4th. Searcy went on to have a decent career in the NFL. In my opinion, the Bills hit on 3 of their top 4 picks. Dareus and Williams became staples of the Bills defense, while Searcy held his own, starting multiple seasons at safety for the Bills. Although Kelvin Shepard was a bust, for what it's worth, the Bills admitted their mistake and dealt him for Jerry Hughes, who's still a major contributor on the team today. In 2020, the Bills didn't have a first-round pick, and for good reason. season. It remains to be seen how this draft class will age in Bills history, but as of now, I'm rating it in the middle. The Bills' second round pick, AJ Epinesa, was underwhelming his rookie year. Now, I understand that the 2020 offseason made it harder for rookies due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but you have to call it how you see it, and any way you slice it, Epinesa did not have a good year. In my opinion, Zach Moss was average in a rotational role. 7th round pick Dane Jackson saw limited time, while 5th and 6th round picks Jake Fromm and Isaiah Hodgins didn't see the field at all. The two biggest bright spots of this draft class were 4th round receiver Gabe Davis and 6th round kicker Tyler Bass. Both had major roles as rookies on a 13 smack dab in the middle. In 2012, Bills fans saw Stephon Gilmore walk across the draft stage with a blank stare and instantly knew that he did not want to be a Buffalo Bill. However, the Bills hit with their first round pick in 2012, and Stephon Gilmore was a lockdown corner until he decided he did not want to give it 100% in his contract year. 2012 also saw the Bills draft longtime left tackle Cordy Glenn in the 2nd round and Nigel Bradham in the 4th. Gilmore is still considered a star corner, while both Cordy Glenn and Nigel Bradham had legitimate NFL careers. 2013, and no, it is not for EJ Manuel. Although this draft was headlined by the Bills taking quarterback EJ Manuel, I do consider this to be one of the better drafts the Bills have had in the past 10 years. We all know they whiffed on Manuel, but there wasn't a good quarterback in the draft. In my opinion, the Bills hit on 4 of their 8 picks in 2013, with the most notable being Robert Woods. Robert Woods is still one of the most reliable receivers in the NFL. They also drafted Kiko Alonso, Marquise Goodwin, and Dustin Hopkins, who are all still playing in the league today. If it wasn't for a preseason injury, Hopkins might be the Bills kicker in 2021. The Bills have had several regimes since this draft, and the players have gone to different teams, but overall, this draft holds up as one of the better ones this decade. Number 2, 2017. The 2017 draft was originally going to be by number 1, but then I remembered this was the draft where they picked Nathan Peterman in the 5th round.
Boo this man!
For that reason alone, I could not justify this draft at number 1. I'd say the first draft for Sean McDermott was a success. They traded down and still picked Tre'Davious White. I know, they could have got Mahomes, but are we really still talking about that? In the 2nd round, the Bills picked their current left tackle, Dion Dawkins, and in the 5th round, they sniped linebacker Matt Milano. Milano, White, and Dawkins all made instant impacts their rookie year, and this past offseason have gotten contract extensions from the Bills. As most of you would have predicted, number 1, I have the 2018 draft class. You knew it was coming. Yes, the 2018 draft where we finally got our quarterback. The Bills traded up twice in the 1st round. First to get their quarterback, and second to get their defensive signal caller. The Bills drafted both Josh Allen and Tremaine Edmunds in the 1st round. Both have made Pro Bowls early in their careers, and both look to be emerging stars in the NFL. As if drafting these two studs wasn't enough, the Bills also drafted Taron Johnson in the 4th round, who has since become one of the better slot cornerbacks in the NFL. In the 5th round, the Bills also selected offensive lineman Wyatt Teller, who although is on a different team, he has become a dominant offensive lineman for the Cleveland Browns. The Bills traded up to get both Allen and Edmunds, and it worked out in their favor. Both players were perfect fits for the organization on and off the field. It's about time something went our way. The 2018 draft is without a doubt the team's best draft in this past decade, and the results speak for themselves. May land on the list for drafts this past decade. Enjoy the offseason and go Bills!